What's up, NBA fans? NBA2K on the mic, and man, it has been a long time since I even bothered making a video with 2K because of stupid shit like what you see on your screen. I'm not a huge fan of this game, however, I did come up with an experiment for a what-if scenario that I think is going to actually be pretty interesting. And as you can tell from the title, basically what we're going to do is we're taking a duo from each franchise's past and we're going to drop them right on top of the rosters today to see how the teams will perform. And if that wasn't clear to you, so an example would be like the Sixers are obviously going to get Allen Iverson and Julius Erving because those are two of the best players, if not the two best to play for that franchise, and sadly Moses Malone isn't in this game, or I might have picked him for that. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get straight into the rosters. I'm probably going to put a timestamp in the video so you can skip straight to the simulation part if you want, but I'm pretty sure you probably want to see the duos that I did choose, so they're pretty interesting here. So like I said, for the first duo, I chose Allen Iverson and Julius Erving, dropping right on top of the Sixers today, and this is done with healthy rosters, so Ben Simmons is a part of it, but obviously he is not getting the starting spot over Julius Erving. I had Oscar Robertson at the point guard position. Obviously Antetokounmpo, I'm not going to have him coming off the bench, so we're going to go ahead and slide him to small forward, which I'm pretty sure is what he was playing anyways, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who pretty much transforms any team he gets put on, so I definitely expect these Bucks to be in the contender spot. Pay attention to this part for the Chicago Bulls. I did not pick Michael Jordan because I didn't want to ruin this experiment. First of all, it wouldn't have made sense to have Michael Jordan on a team that already has Rondo, Butler, and D Wade. They didn't need another guy like MJ. And second of all, if I put 95-96 Michael Jordan on the Bulls, they're gonna win like by a long shot. It's not even close. 2K loves MJ, and you know everyone loves MJ, so there was no point of having him here. That would have ruined this whole thing. I gave them Dennis Rodman and Scotty instead. I felt that was a bit more practical. And okay, here's the part I did for the actual contending team. So like the Cavaliers, I did not add two players here. Like I added Brad Daugherty. I was gonna add Mark Price, but that would have put them so far ahead of like every other team in the NBA. They're already far ahead of most teams in the NBA. If I give them Mark Price and Brad Daugherty, again, that's another thing I think would probably break this experiment. And so I just went ahead and gave them Daugherty. They just don't need that much in my opinion. Now, the Celtics, I went ahead and gave us Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, and they fit in perfectly because those are two positions that could be stronger, the small forward and the power forward position. Going to be very interesting to see how that works out because now that roster is pretty complete. And Larry Bird really should transform what they have going on there. Some of the teams I couldn't help because there's no like legendary players in their history, or if there is, they're just not in 2K, so I couldn't help some of those. I wasn't going to use the downloaded roster because sometimes those attributes just aren't the best, and the tendencies, I didn't want to mess with that. For the Hawks, I gave them Dominique Wilkins and Lou Hudson. That's about the best I could do for them because Maravich had to go somewhere else. Miami Heat's pretty interesting. I went ahead and went with Shaq. I used him from the Lakers days because I'm using all the legends from their primes. So I went ahead and went with Shaq, and I went with Tim Hardaway. They need a hell of a lot of help, which is another reason I gave them Shaq instead of like someone else like Alonzo Mourning. They need a lot. And plus Alonzo Mourning went here with the Hornets, got him and Larry Johnson, so we'll see how they help. Thank God they don't have to deal with Roy Hibbert at that center position. For the Jazz, this is probably my favorite roster here. You got Karl Malone fitting in right, really nice and snug at the power forward position, and then Stockton replacing Hill at the point guard. So what would the Utah Jazz look like today if they were invaded by the duos of Stockton and Malone? That would be a really fun thing to see, and we're gonna see what 2K thinks about it. The Knicks, this was a tough one to do. I wanted to add Willis Reed here, but I felt like Knicks fans would have shot me if I didn't put Frazier, especially because he's like the highest rated Knick in the game aside from Patrick Ewing. So Rose is just gonna have to take the 6-man spot on here, and if you're watching the Knicks in real life, you can tell they need a lot of help. So yeah, went ahead and gave them Ewing and Frazier, and we're gonna see how that works out. Of course, I couldn't do this Lakers experiment without bringing Kobe back to lead the young bloods, and also Wilt Chamberlain because I put Shaq on the other I put him on the Miami Heat. So we're going to see if Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe, what they could do to transform this Lakers roster. Orlando Magic, Penny Hardaway, and T-Mac. I think this is something people have talked about. I mean, you know, kind of like a really distant what-if type thing. Obviously, this wasn't even close to happening, but it's still fun to think about. What if T-Mac and Hardaway played together? They would be impossible backcourt to guard. The Nuggets, I went ahead and gave them Chris Jackson and Mutombo, but that's really not going to help their situation that much. The Pelicans, this is interesting. Now, I had to reach here because I know Pete Maravich played for the New Orleans Jazz and not the New Orleans Hornets, which is what the Pelicans are based off of, but I had to give Anthony Davis some type of help. I can't leave him hanging. And then also I went ahead and gave them Chris Paul because I couldn't help the Clippers because, well, who the hell actually played for the Clippers before him and Blake Griffin, right? So, yeah, the Pistons, Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, pretty self-explanatory there. The Raptors is another team I could barely help. I went ahead and gave them Vince Carter, but there wasn't really anybody else in the game I could put on the Raptors that played for their franchise previously. The only other option was Chris Bosh, and he's on the Heat, so I couldn't do that. James Harden and Yao Ming and Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, I went ahead and slided Hakeem Olajuwon to the power forward position because I saw it was in his secondary position, and I just felt like, you know, with his touch and his post moves and the shot that he has, I felt like he would do a bit better for the power forward position than Yao Ming would. I think he's a bit more reliable there. So that's going to be very fun to see how that works out. Harden at the point guard position and the twin towers. This should really help them. This should definitely help them having twin towers like that. They're going to be very good defensively, I would assume. The San Antonio Spurs are another team that I did not bother to add a second superstar to because that just wouldn't have made any sense. I gave them the young Tim Duncan, but come on now. I would have had to add David Robinson on top of a LaMarcus Aldridge and a Pau Gasol. Got Kawhi Leonard, who's balling like Kobe lately. Like, that just would not have made any sense. That would have probably ruined this experiment, so I didn't do it. The Suns, man, if 2K wouldn't have let Steve Nash slip through the cracks, I would have been able to fit him right here, and that would have been a very fun experiment. But, you know, we all know how that happens, so we're going to have to settle for Shawn Marion, and the Suns basically aren't going to do shit in this experiment. The Thunder are actually a really fun team because you got Payton and Kemp added to this. Now, I was tempted to move Payton to the point guard position and let Westbrook run shooting guard, but I really want the ball to be in Westbrook's hand most of the time because he tends to average a triple-double when that happens. So we're just going to let Payton run the 2, and that's what 2K slid. That's where they slid him to when I traded him there, so I'm just going to let that slide. The Timberwolves, again, this was a team where there wasn't so much I could do to help them besides add Kevin Garnett, which is a pretty big deal, obviously. Now, I did give them Sam Cassell as well because he was the highest rated Minnesota Timberwolf in this game besides Kevin Garnett, really. I could have done Latrell Sprewell, but I went with Cassell here. Yeah, if this game had Stephon Marbury, I would have definitely used him instead, but, you know, it doesn't. So we're going to just have to settle for what they have here. They're still going to be pretty good. I would love to see what a young Kevin Garnett could have done with this Wolves squad. So moving on to the Blazers, gave them Clyde Drexler on top of Damian Lillard. That's obviously going to be really fun. I went ahead and settled for Sabonis because there's no Rasheed Wallace in this game. Couldn't go there. No Brandon Roy. No Greg Oden. Well, I actually don't. Yeah, I don't think Greg Oden is in the game anymore. He totally quit basketball. So. And then, yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge is on the Spurs, so that's just the way that's going to have to go. And the Warriors, I'm not giving the Warriors anybody. Come on now. Who else do the Warriors need? Was I really supposed to put Mitch Richmond and Chris Mullin on top of what they already have? They already have a third of the Western All-Star team. They should be fine. They just, I don't know if you call them the favorites to win it all, but that's going to be the other fun part of this experiment is seeing how the Warriors would do in a league with all these other duos, because now the other teams are much better and the Warriors get a challenge every night instead of winning every game by 30. So that's going to be very fun to see. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get this association started. Okay, here we are. Now, I'm honestly pretty excited for this experiment because it's going to be pretty fun to see. These are just today's roster with a couple of duos, and it's going to shake things up a lot. We're going to do what we normally do when I do this. I'm just going to go look at the stats probably halfway through the season. Going to look at the standings, see who's playing together, see who's gelling, and see who's inevitably failing. Obviously, the Warriors have their super team. They're really clicking if you've been watching the last few games. Haven't really lost since the Spurs, and they've been blowing teams out lately. And it's going to be interesting to see, would adding all these duos provide them any more of a challenge? Would they still make the finals in this type of league? How would they deal with somebody like the Rockets who had Yao Ming and Hakeem? The quick answer is they probably wouldn't. So we're going to see what 2K thinks about it, but remember to take this with a grain of salt because 2K definitely gets a lot of shit wrong. So at All-Star break, the Warriors finished 38-18. Let's go ahead and see what the rest of the teams did. This is going to be pretty interesting to see who's leading in the stats. I think what we're going to do actually is start with statistics before we do that. So coming in the league leaders, and look at that, James Harden is loving playing with these big guys. He's averaging 8 assists a game, 28 points a game. He's really killing it. Blake Griffin, obviously I took Chris Paul off there, so they're going to lose a lot, but Blake Griffin really, he upped his numbers. Kyrie Irving still killing it. I think 2K severely overshot how good Devin Booker is going to be because I don't think he's going to be averaging 25 for the season, so yeah, that's pretty interesting. It looks like Clyde is doing a lot for the Blazers here. Anthony Davis, his scoring average went down a little bit. Okay, Jamal Crawford at 22 a game. Wow, taking Chris Paul off that roster really changed everything, huh? Alright, so obviously I'm not going to look through all of these. I just wanted to see, just get a general idea of who was doing what. I'm going to go ahead and go over the conferences. Oh, and check it out. So OKC with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, that's a hell of a lot to deal with, and they're sitting pretty at 43-14. Westbrook's averages must have went down because I didn't see him in that top 10 we were just looking at. The Rockets with Yao Ming and Harden, obviously killing it there. The Lakers with Kobe and Wilt Chamberlain, what else would you expect? And Stoudemire and Shawn Marion actually have the Suns in the playoff hunt. Interesting there. The Timberwolves, again, wasn't much I could do, but adding Kevin Garnett to that roster has them in the playoff hunt. And the San Antonio Spurs, wow, maybe I should have gave them David Robinson. Are they in the playoff hunt? They're in the playoff hunt, yeah. They're almost tied for 8th. So interesting. And the rest of these teams, wow, Utah didn't do too much better with what I gave them. So but the rest of it is about what you would expect. Oh yeah, check it out. Boston is on top. Looks like we might actually beat the Cavs this year. In my fucking dreams. You saw the game last night. That obviously probably isn't gonna happen this year, but whatever. Okay, and yeah, not too much surprise here. Oh wow, now that's a surprise. So adding Isaiah Thomas and who else did I add there? Joe Dumars to the Pistons actually did not help them a lot at all. And the rest of the teams, yeah, this is about what you would expect. I don't know. I feel like Iverson and Dr. J would definitely do a little bit more than this. And the Cavaliers are struggling a little bit, dealing with the rest of the league because everybody else got a duo and they didn't. It's pretty interesting. Okay, one last thing before we continue this simulation. I just want to see how the players are actually playing together as far as stats, how they're gelling together on the same team. So here you see the Warriors. I'm not going to look through every team. I'm just going to look through some of them that I'm really interested in. You can pause and look through these if you want to. And okay, so Westbrook is not averaging a triple-double. I guess he's sharing some of the ball. No, because okay, yeah, okay. Peyton is getting some of those assists too, taking that ball handling duty away from Westbrook. But they're gelling together, so this is a legit contender to dethrone the Warriors in the West. OKC and the Warriors is my prediction for the Western Conference Finals again in this scenario. Obviously, Olajuwon and Yao Ming, they're doing alright. And I think that's about all I was really interested in. Maybe take a look at the Orlando Magic, see how Penny Hardaway and T-Mac are doing. Okay. What about the Jazz? The Jazz kind of disappointed me just a little bit with not really being in the playoff run. I feel like Malone and Stockton with today's Jazz would definitely do a little bit more. So yeah, Malone isn't doing what he typically does, because normally when I have Malone in the association, he puts up like 29 points a game. So not too pleased with that. Miami Heat, Shaq and Tim Hardaway. I don't even remember if I saw the Heat in the standings, actually. I was just kind of scrolling a little bit quickly there. And the yeah, this is about what you would expect here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get back to the simulation, and there we go. So the Warriors finish. Oh, look at that. LeBron gets MVP, adding Brad Daugherty there. He finally picks up his 5th MVP award. He almost averaged a triple-double too. Ah, that's interesting. I would have expected that from Westbrook. Ben Simmons, Rookie of the Year, which probably would have happened this year if he hadn't broken his foot. 6th man, obviously Dwayne Wade, because he had to come behind Pippen. Drummond, wow, he had a B season. 21 and 15, Defensive Player of the Year, very interesting there. Most Improved Player, obviously Booker, because 2K overshot that. The Thunder end up going 61 and 21, so obviously Billy Donovan gets Coach of the Year. Not really that interested in the teams. I mean, you can pause the video and look through these if you want. I'm never really that interested in anything these have to tell me. And okay, before we start the tournament or the playoffs, we're gonna just take one more peek at how the teams actually performed here. So go to conference. So the Warriors finished 2nd behind the Thunder. That's probably going to be the conference finals. And the Spurs made the playoffs. Awesome. So this is going to be a really tight race in the West. Chris Paul and Maravich helped Anthony Davis get to the playoffs, because that's obviously not happening this year. The Lakers were able to retrieve a top 4 seed with Kobe and Wilt Chamberlain, so that's pretty interesting. And Kevin Garnett just got the split at 41 and 41, just barely missed the playoffs. So yeah, I wish I had Stephon Marbury to add to that roster, but I didn't. And check it out, Chicago got 1st in the East, so that's probably going to be the Eastern Conference Finals there. Adding Pippen and Rodman is definitely going to bother the Cavaliers a little bit. The New York Knicks, we totally transformed that team with the addition of Frazier and Ewing. Celtics finished top 4 with McHale and Bird. Yeah, this is stacked. This East is stacked right here. You got Jabars in the playoffs. This is going to be very fun. If I'm giving my prediction, I'm probably going to say that this conference finals will come down to the Bulls and Cavs. Even though the Celtics got Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, I mean, I don't know, it's really, really tight, but I still think with LeBron James, MVP, pretty much averaging a triple-double, I think it's going to be Bulls and Cavs. It's going to come down to them, and it's probably going to come down to Warriors and Thunder here. But you never know. That's the beauty of this playoffs. Okay, one more. I want to look at the Rockets, because I want to see how those Twin Towers finish together. They're a sleeper team, honestly. With those big men, I think if the Warriors ran into them, I think they could, I think the Rockets could definitely beat them if that's what happens. So without further ado, let's see if the Golden State Warriors would still win an NBA championship in a league like this. So we're going to simulate by round like we normally do, take a look at certain things, and let's go ahead and see who got eliminated. So the Warriors and Rockets are in the 2nd round. Okay, so Boston got beat by Miami. Couldn't handle Shaq down low, huh? Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Who was the center there? Yeah, that would definitely make sense. I'm not mad there. Horford on Shaq, that's a huge weight difference. The Knicks lose 4-1, so the Bucks go ahead and advance. It's going to be interesting to see if Kareem can pull the Bucks past the Cavaliers. Although it looks like everything I said is happening according to plan. I think the Bulls are going to beat the Heat, obviously, and Cavaliers probably going to beat the Bucks. Now, whether the Rockets actually beat the Warriors beat the Rockets or not, I don't know. Those Twin Towers should definitely punish the Warriors down low. But then the Rockets might have trouble guarding them with all that perimeter shooting. So let's just see how it goes. Simulate the round. Oh my god, yeah, the Golden State Warriors got killed. I called that. Rewind the video. I said the Rockets were the sleeper team because I had no clue how the Warriors were going to deal with two big men like that down low. There's nobody I could have given the Warriors to help with that. Like, I just simply couldn't. Oh man, okay, I didn't even notice this while I was talking. So Damian Lillard and Clyde Drexler propelled them past the Thunder. The Thunder's dream season got crushed. Wow. And it's the Cavaliers and Heat on the other side. So Shaquille O'Neal pushed them. Yeah, that makes sense because Robin Lopez had to guard him. Let's just take a look at some stats here real quick. So I'm pretty sure, I just want to look, they beat him in 5. So I know, yep, Hakeem Olajuwon got off. Hakeem is a beast in this game, and so did Yao. That's game 1. And game 2, same thing. Hakeem got off again. I told you, they just didn't have anybody to guard him. There was no way, like when I saw the Rockets and I just thought about what I saw there. And I was like, there's no way they're going to handle Yao and Hakeem down there. I knew they were the sleeper team. This is pretty interesting. And in the 4th game, he didn't do much. So I'm assuming that's the game they lost. Yeah, it is. And then, yeah. Yep, Hakeem was basically the MVP of that series. Let's see what happened here. This was a 7-game series, and Kemp and Payton could not get it done along with Westbrook. Where's Westbrook at? Yeah. Wow, the Blazers must really play good together. You see Drexler and Lillard leading the scoring in Game 7 and Game 1 and pretty much Game 2. McCollum helped out there too. Yeah, man, the Blazers. So this is interesting. This is a fun experiment because what I expected to happen is probably not going to happen now. We're going to get a totally different finals than I expected. What a fun experiment. One more thing we're going to look over here with the Bulls. And Hassan Whiteside and Shaq actually played pretty well together. Yeah, that would make sense. Having to deal with Hassan Whiteside and Shaq in real life, that would be a problem for the Bulls, who aren't toting the biggest front line down there or the most talented. Interesting. So these guys definitely stuffed the stat sheet. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and see what would happen in this round. So Rockets and Blazers are set. Lillard and Drexler versus Hakeem, Harden, and Yao. And the Cavaliers versus the Heat, LeBron's old team. So let's go ahead and simulate, see what would happen. And the Heat and Blazers are eliminated. So the Rockets are going to win the championship. I'm calling it right now. The Houston Rockets, I did not see this happening when we started. This is what makes experiments like this fun. I couldn't call this, actually. I thought the Warriors might have won in this league. Maybe I should have gave them a player. I don't know. Maybe I did not judge that correctly. Let's go ahead and look. This went 7. Both of them went 7. So they were really tight races. James Harden, wow, yeah, he is balling. Look at just like real life. 42 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. And Hakeem and Yao on the same team is just too much for any modern team to deal with. Like, there's no one who can handle that, obviously. Keep going. Yeah, Lillard and Drexler, they had a good run. They had a really good run, but what are you supposed to do? You know, especially them. The only big man they had down there was Sabonis. So what were they supposed to do against this? And Harden really went off. That is really interesting. Just, you can pause and look through these stats if you want to. I'm just kind of glancing over, trying not to take too much time with this. Okay, and we can go over to the Heat and Cavs, and yeah, so we're gonna get a Rockets Cavs finals. LeBron James, his 7th straight finals. This would make it. And I finally got the Cavaliers to the finals on one of these experiments. Normally when I do it, the Cavaliers, for some reason, when I do an association, they just don't perform the way they do in real life. But they performed really well here. Interesting there. So yeah, they just couldn't get him past Daughtery. Like I said, this is why I didn't give them Mark Price, because I knew the Cavaliers were probably going to end up good either way with just Daughtery. It wouldn't have made sense for me to do that. Okay, and without further ado, I'm going to simulate what I do with the finals. I simulate game by game, so we can just kind of, I'm not going to look at the stat sheet time, but you know, creates a little bit of suspense. Okay, so we're here and we're going to simulate game 1, and it goes to the Rockets, exactly how I said it would. That's game 1. I have to keep going to daily view to select the game since I'm not either one of these teams. Simulate game. Rockets get game 2. Yeah, Rockets are champions, guys. I'm telling you right now. Yao Ming and Hakeem Olajuwon. How would you ever be? Who would deal with that in real life? They're gonna sweep the Cavaliers. This is what's gonna happen. There's no way. Who would be able to deal with Harden, Hakeem, and Yao, especially in the modern era when there's no big man to defend them? Okay, they didn't sweep them. So the Cavaliers, are they gonna make a comeback? Is it gonna be 3-0 this time? Who would ever be able to deal with Yao Ming and Hakeem, though? They're just too big in any era. Like, that would be ridiculous, especially with Hakeem playing power forward, letting Yao be comfortable. Oh, shit. Maybe I spoke too soon. Okay, so the Cavaliers are trying to make another World famous comeback. I'm getting a little bit nervous now. I'm gonna look stupid because I picked the Rockets. Oh, okay. Whew, shit. Alright, thank God. So, my prediction came true. I said the Rockets were the sleeper teams when this playoff started. I had faith in Yao and Hakeem. I just did not see who was going to be able to guard them, especially in this league. That might have been an unfair advantage, to be honest, but Harden really cooked too when you look at his stats. These are final stats. He got finals MVP, 28 a game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. I want to go back and look at the view of these. So, it went 6 games. The Cavaliers almost made history again, but just like I said, Hakeem and Yao. This would be really fun if any of y'all are interested in like offline play. I know a lot of people don't do it anymore, but if you were going to do it in my league and you did it with Harden, Yao, and Hakeem, I'd be interested to hear how that goes for you guys, because that's something I would do. You don't see me play 2K much on this channel, but I definitely love using I like playing posts. I know there's a lot of 2K players don't play posts. I really do like to use post moves, especially online. Nobody uses post moves, so like when I do it, nobody really knows how to guard it because they just don't see it that often. But yeah, I would actually love to play with that team because that looks like it would have been a lot of fun. And yeah, I didn't even pay attention to the scores. Were they close games at least? Nah, not really. So yeah, the Rockets, they snuck up on me. For some reason, when I put them together, I didn't notice it until I took a second look. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the experiment. This is what it would look like in 2K if we were to take duos from each team's past and just drop them into today's league with no other changes, no trades. And apparently the Rockets would come out on top. And when you think about it, maybe it isn't so far-fetched because James Harden right now, like, he doesn't have big men on his team right now, but yet he's still killing it in the points and the assist total. So if you were to give him Hakeem and Yao Ming, that would be a very interesting thing. Let Hakeem run the power forward position, let Yao Ming stay there comfy at center, and I think they'd be hard for anybody to deal with because we all know what a healthy Yao looks like. Well, for the few who saw it and for the short time that it existed, but you know, you get the point there. So yeah, I'm Dom2K. Hit like button if you enjoyed it, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.